Welcome to the PowerConnect webinar, brought to you by the BA Lab.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the PowerConnect. Yes, we are back and we are here to shake things up again. And this is no ordinary occasion. We are here to celebrate Women's Day and all the women that contribute toward making this country a better place. Not just the country, the world, actually. But I want to say something just before we start. Just some small thing about what Women's Day really is, especially to our country. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about what this, not that you don't already know, but just to give you a little snippet. National Women's Day in South Africa is celebrated on the 9th of August, and it commemorates the 1956 march of over 20,000 women to the Union buildings in Pretoria. They protested against the apartheid government's past laws, which restricted the movement of Black women. The day is a tribute to the women who participated in the march. And as a celebration of the women's contributions in this country, it also serves as a reminder of the ongoing struggles for gender equality and women's rights. And although the past laws are no longer there, women of all races still go through challenges that need to be addressed. And here to help us with looking into these challenges is someone very special. With youth, charisma, and ambition, I have somebody that I want to tell you about. I'm going to tell you a little bit about this person, and I hope you are fascinating as I do. I'll just tell you about what they have been through to get where they are today. They have studied, they become triple major in economic science, pure mathematics, management, finance, followed by a BS honors degree in pure mathematics, as well as a master's degree in pure mathematics and a pure mathematics doctorate in progress. Where they've worked before they started as a business analyst graduate at Aspen, followed by quantitative analytics trainee at Nedbank, then data analytics science at FNB, then credit intelligent analysts at Capitec. And then the new role is at KPMG, and now follows in May 2025 as a senior capital and credit risk consultant within the financial risk management division. And when they are not being serious and making changes and impacts in the industry, their all hobbies and interests span across cooking and baking, meditation, and spirituality, thoughtful leadership, reading motivational books and biographies, traditional dancing, spending time in nature, catching sunsets, hiking and fitness, health and wellness, watching documentaries as well as Bollywood movies and songs. I remember this because we had a conversation about Kabhi Kush Kabhi Khan, which is a famous Bollywood movie that you might know. As well as philosophical and analytical thinking and reasoning applied to continuous learning and in and out of their field. A bit more of about them that you might need to know is that they were born in Newcastle in the northern KwaZulu-Natal and have been in Johannesburg since the age of 9. And they're ambivalent, meaning they recharge their batteries through social interactions, but also enjoy quiet moments for introspective from time to time. They love to live a balanced lifestyle and prioritize fitness and being outdoors when not working. Their friends would most likely describe them as a friendly, enthusiastic, and compassionate individual who is ambitious, dynamic, passionate, and passionate about giving their best in everything that they do. Please welcome everyone, Priyanka. Priyanka, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me here, and lovely introduction. Thanks again for that.
It's all true. It's all true. I mean, since from the time that I've known you have been, on point with everything that you do. And I was stunned to to realize that you're doing your PhD in mathematics. That is above and beyond what I would imagine myself doing. Let alone someone so young. You're just full of ambition and spirit, and it makes me joyful to see you here with us to share your experiences and just make people aware that it is possible, and whatever challenges that they're going through, you've gone through them as well, and they are not alone. And with us as well, we have our reliable co-host, Z. Welcome, Z. We haven't seen your face for a while around this part.
Thanks, AV. I'm happy to be here in celebration of Women's Month.
Fantastic. Okay, so I just want to kick off by pondering something that you most likely have gone through, just to share. What can you tell us, Priyanka, about your journey into your career? What inspired you to choose the path that you've chosen, and what journey did you really go through to get where you are?
Okay. So I basically feel that I've always been passionate about problem solving skills. Being an analytical person has always come naturally to me as well. So I think with time, I also wanted to be able to apply that practically. And I think my career has provided me with that opportunity to do so. So the mathematics part of my degree allows me to have that problem solving analytical skills coming into play. And the practical side comes in from my other majors like the economics and management accounting and finance majors, because that then allows me to take the numbers, data, and analytics and apply it and tell storytelling into integrating those sort of things into it. And what I like about my current field is that there's never a dull moment, not just with a BA scope, but just in general. There's always something ever changing and dynamic in the space. So I think that's what makes it captivating as well. And there's always something to contribute because you find that in the current field of BA and beyond, because what I like about the BA skills that you gain is that you can apply to any role. So be it consulting, be it in data science or any quant work, it always remains relevant. And in that sense, your data analytics feeds into a story that you then give to relevant stakeholders to inform future decisions. So in that way, you feel that your work has power and meaning to drive an organization forward. And I think that's what keeps me ever so passionate about what I do.
No, definitely. And I mean, I'm not sure if you agree with me, Z, but I mean, as much as problem solving is concerned, numbers tell a story that can't tell you lies. You know, they tell you. Sometimes we make assumptions, and I know when you're a BA and you're trying to solve for a problem, a lot of the time you have an input from a lot of stakeholders. But what you find is that the story isn't what it is until you actually have the numbers, you know, on display and see what is the actual root cause of this problem. And then you realize that the problem isn't actually the problem. The problem is something else.
Yeah,
So
numbers never lie, AV. Numbers never lie.
That's
numbers
really
never lie. They tell you a story, like they tell you the root of the story and where it originates from, and that helps you in your journey to solving the problem. And you see this many times where even in government and companies that we work for, that the problems that you really go through and are on the surface, and dealing with it's almost like we deal with symptoms of the problem and not the actual problem, you know. And it's amazing to see that the clarification of what the numbers bring to the story can actually give so much light to the problem that you tackle it in a different way. Even the strategy of being able to tackle or solve the problem changes in a way, and you now find yourself in a situation where you're like, oh, okay, um, I didn't think that this was the problem, and now my approach to solving the problem is completely different because I'm not solving for the problem that that is thought to be the problem. I'm solving for something else to be able to come up with a solution that makes an actual impact. You know. But
Yeah.
and what I would like to know, Priyanka, is what kind of challenges, and I'm sure you Z as well. I mean, you would be able to contribute to this as well. That a lot of us face challenges at work, whether you're a man or a woman, and these challenges are different. But when you're a woman, especially when you go into a field where it's dominated by men, the challenge is not only the the challenges that you normally face there, but it's also the fact that you are in an industry where you almost feel like you're not welcome, and you constantly have to prove yourself, even though your credentials are at the same standard and the same level as the very men that are in the room with you. But you have to step up, just a step further to prove why you deserve to be there. So, what challenges have you faced as a woman in your field, and how have you overcome those challenges?
Yeah, that's a very good question because it's very relevant, I think, to all women. I think for me, it was just the challenge of, having my voice having the weight that I think it deserved. And I don't even think it's a woman thing. I think generally starting out in your career as a junior, you worry is, or your main worry is, does your viewpoint count for something? I don't know much about the field when you just enter, so does it count? Does it hold weight? And I think I've overcome that is just having confidence in what I believe in my viewpoint, and that came with time. It didn't happen overnight. As I navigated through corporate dynamics, getting to understand it better, uh, I knew how to navigate it better. So I think, in general, the advice I'd give to someone, especially if they're starting out, don't be too hard on yourself when it comes to the challenges you face, especially ones where you feel overwhelmed or intimidated, or you feel like your voice is not heard or it doesn't count for something. You definitely get there because with time you become wiser and you know how to apply things better in order to make positive changes in your life. Yeah.
I mean, the most challenging thing that I've seen you put in front of me was a math equation that made no sense to me, and I was like, "What? What is this thing? What animal have I just come across now?" And I sat there for days trying to decipher this, and I was like, I remember I even went to my my old math book and I wanted to understand what happened. But you are right. The challenges of starting out can be similar to what you face, or what you face as women. There's that anxiety and that ambition to want to prove yourself that
Mm.
you're good enough for this position, you're good enough to be here. And it's almost like you also punish yourself for the little mistakes that you make, that you think might discredit your work or your worth in that um environment, and your ability to create value and bring value to the environment. I'm not sure, Z, if you've come across something like that, to
Yeah.
say, like, you get into a workplace, and I mean, some workplaces are such that they create a friendly environment where you can express yourself regardless of whether you're a man or a woman, and be comfortable in portraying your ideas and adding value. But some, there's some resistance there, and you can feel the resistance when you step into the workplace, and you see that it's a bit hostile here, and you really have to push hard to prove who you are as a resource, how you can add value to this place. I'm not sure if you face
Yeah.
such
So
challenges.
definitely, and I think it's beyond that because they there's that, but for me I feel it's sort of the smaller portion of things. As a woman, like you said, you you face the challenges that over and above the challenges that everybody else faces, you face. But how I overcome it is I try not to focus on the challenges that are in the room. My mentor at once upon a time once said to me, you need to always ensure that you are prepared, and knowing that you're going to sort of come through challenges as a woman, you need to ensure then that you are 10 times prepared as over somebody else who doesn't have the same challenges that you have. And this, I think, goes beyond being a woman. It goes beyond being in the workplace. So whatever new thing or challenge that you encounter, in my perspective, and conquering, what my mentor said is always ensure that you are prepared and plan, because if you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. And I feel that that is very imperative, that you actually put in the hours and plan.
No, definitely, definitely. I mean, you touched on two very important aspects there, and that one is the planning, and two very important is the mentorship. How important is mentorship, guys? Like having somebody there to guide you through those aspects, because it can be a kill for your career emotionally if you are not able to go through certain aspects, or surf through certain aspects of your career, certain challenges, because nobody is there to say to you, like, this is normal, it's okay to go through this will pass, or something like that. And you almost feel isolated, because I know, I've had mentors that really hold your hand and make it okay to be vulnerable, and teach you that, okay, it's okay to be in this environment. It might be a bit hostile, but that's okay. You're going to get through this, and you're going to learn how to be a little bit stronger, and be better next time for this kind of challenge. But how important has mentorship been in you? Have you had mentors that have made an impact in your career, Priyanka?
Yes, definitely. There's been quite a few that I look up to till today. I think even in my current role, we have some very strong women leaders in the field as well. Our head of FRM is Maria van der Valk. She's very solid in leading up our team, and I look up to her in so many ways. Just seeing how she drives the dynamics of the team really inspires me. We've also had a new CEO recently appointed at KPMG, Jolene Pierce, and just the way she also approaches leadership is absolutely phenomenal. I've been very passionate about leadership from a very long time, given that it's something that I feel that I would love to have more of in my career. So seeing active leadership, thoughtful leadership in action really inspires me to say, you know what, there are organizations that actually really put this at the center. And I think that's how it should be. We should actually put leadership at the center, because from there we project on the results that we want to see for the firm. It all starts from the inside out in all spheres of life. As a typical example, your health. If you want to get more healthy, it starts from the inside. You have to drink more water. You have to get everything healthy from the inside before it can start to show on the outside. So yeah, basically, also I also have mentors in my university field as well. Prof. Betsy Yonk is one of those solid mentors of mine. So she's always dynamic and passionate about the field of mathematics, and that keeps me going every day, especially sometimes when the doctorate gets quite overwhelming. She's always adding that spark of enthusiasm to it as well. And I do mentor a few people as well. And I do also believe your mentees have a lot to teach you as well. So mentorship then becomes a two-way street. It's not just you mentoring others, but they have something to teach you as well. And that sort of growth mindset is something I take with me, because there's always something to learn from everyone. I think someone once told me, you can't take everything from everyone, but you can learn something from
Yeah.
them. And I
Yeah.
think that's a profound realization, because once you're able to extract something that's very valuable for you, you're able to project it forward in your own life.
Definitely. I mean, that is very key. You're saying something, Zeke.
No. You can go for it. I'll add to it when you're done.
Yeah, I mean, what you're saying makes a lot of sense, especially that you must always remain teachable, regardless of whether you're the person doing the mentoring or the person who's receiving the mentoring. And we at the BA Lab do run a mentorship program where we have a lot of mentees that go through the program and learn a lot. Especially the kind of challenges that they'll face in the workspace. And I'm sure Z can attest to this, that it's an eye opener even for us, on some of the things that we learn from the mentees, not just behavioral things, but more of the challenges that we didn't think people faced, that come to light, and we realize that these are actual real challenges that people face, and there needs to be a solution for these kinds of challenges. And it now gives us a platform to say, okay, how can we deal with these challenges, and help other people to cope with these kind of challenges when they have them in the workplace. And I think that is very, very key.
Yeah, and what I wanted to add, AB, is in terms of the mentorship, it's like if you're running a marathon, it helps you sprint up a lot more. It's so great to know that, especially now, there was an incident at work where it's like, not an incident, but rather a question that somebody asked, that is it okay for me to cry and whatnot in the office, and what and the thing about it is, everybody, whether you're gonna cry it out or scream in your car or whatever, we all have these challenges, and it's always great that you have like a home to go back to say, whether it's your mentor or your friend, to have somebody that you can go back to and bounce things with, so that they give you a different perspective and help you observe outside of yourself, what maybe you contributed to the situation happening versus how you can actually overcome it as well. So mentorship plays a very great role in getting you ahead, and also giving you a different perspective about how you can literally approach situations as well. So I think whether you are pouring out as a mentor, or you are getting in as a mentee, there's always that room that you both learn, to Priyanka's point, that it's dual as well. And an imperative thing is that you obviously choose the people that are your tribe, because you don't have to listen to everybody, but when you've narrowed it down to people that can add value in your life, I think that is very, very profound.
Yeah, no, I think that is true. And I mean, you guys touched on very important aspects of that. And Priyanka, you said something about you being a mentor as well. And I think that that is very important, to be able to have a skill, and not only focus on harnessing that skill, but transferring that skill to other people in a way that is beneficial to them. And that speaks to me about the ability to be able to read the room, read emotions, and and the thing about that is that the more challenging thing with women specifically is that you you are nurturers, and more women are, in the workplace, you meet women that are either taking care of somebody or are mothers, and that is a huge responsibility, and through that, then you realize that the challenge isn't just the work itself, it's it's much bigger than that. They have to translate certain things. You spoke about a work-life balance. You have to have that work-life balance to be able to go home and make sure that your work life doesn't intrude into your personal life and then take away the time that you spend with your kids, or with the people that you care about, you're taking care of. And you need to be aware of those aspects, as a mentor, to say, okay, I understand this is happening and this is the challenges that you're going through, and this is how you can navigate through these challenges by making sure that you have this kind of balance in your life. You also spoke about planning. How important is that? How important is the planning? Because in all the aspects of work that we have, the planning is important to prioritize your duties, that you get the important stuff done first, and the other less, not that they're not important, but there are other not so important things or not so urgent things um out the way before you tackle the others. But how important is planning? What much of a difference has it been in really your careers to this point, and what impact has it really had to prioritize and plan things accordingly?
Certainly, you bring up a very valid point. Planning is the fundamental, if not the most important thing you do, because it's like a good analogy I like to use for that is you're going on a holiday, but you don't know where you're going. So you're just driving for hours on end and you don't reach your destination. Usually, when you go on holiday, you have your map, you have your GPS or your Waze, you have everything ready. You know exactly where you're going. And you plan like how many road stops are you going to have, when do you need to fuel up, and that's literally very much applicable to the world of work as well. You designate time for work, you take regular breaks in between, so that would be like your petrol breaks that you take in between, and just creating very succinct planning techniques in order to help you get to where you need to get, especially where there's urgent work deliverables. You have to be very streetwise in the way that you use your time. I think time management is one of the key components of planning. How much time do you allocate to a particular task or certain segments of the task to make sure that you're able to execute it? So yeah, to answer your question in a nutshell, planning, I think, is the most important element of execution. It precedes it in the biggest of ways, and it's important to do that, not even just in as a VA, but in general for everything in life, work or anything that you want to do, propelling forward as well. The planning is key.
And to
Definitely.
add to that, as well, is when we're talking executing your work, the planning aspect of it will help you identify where you're gonna start, which is, I guess, planning the destination and everything, and when you're gonna end, and it helps you know exactly what the in between that needs to happen as well, so that you don't keep going. When you keep doing the same thing over and over, and you like, I feel like I'm not making progress, it's literally because you have no compass of how and where you're gonna direct your journey. So the planning aspect of it is so important, because I think that Napoleon Hill quote has stayed in my mind, that really truly, if you fail to plan, you literally plan to fail.
That's
No,
100%
definitely.
spot on. Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, I didn't know where that quote came from, but I've always known that if you are failing to plan, you are definitely planning to fail. And I see that we actually have some viewership from Canada in the room, from Miss Alexandrov in Toronto, Canada. So welcome to our viewers there. From that side, we also have some viewers from Centurion, and yes, what I can say is that the it sometimes doesn't seem like much of a difference between the kind of challenges that we go through and how we should do our planning as as people in the workplace, because we almost always see each other as equals. But when you dig down into it, the responsibilities that lie on women is a bit, you know, a bit heavier than what lies on the men there, and that's mainly because, you know, the what they have to take in, especially because of their families, is another job, you know, and they have to make a balance between the two. So I want to ask you this, but before I ask you this, Z, I think you have something for us.
I
I think
definitely, yeah, I definitely do.
This is Quantum Leap, the mentorship journey that's shaping the future of business analysis. A bold step into growth, connection, and transformation. 12 sessions dusted, and what an incredible journey it's been. From mindset shifts to mastering the craft, our mentees have leaped into action, driven by passion and purpose. We've explored personal branding, career growth, business analysis essentials, and most importantly, we've built a community grounded in support and accountability. The energy, the growth, the wins, they speak for themselves, and we're just getting started. We're not done yet. A new cohort and the biggest leap is still to come. Cohort 2 is officially open for applications. If you've missed the first wave, this is your moment to leap. Apply now for a sponsored seat and be part of this high-impact mentorship program. Sessions happen twice a week on weekday evenings from 9th September at 7 p.m. to 8 p.m., designed to fit into your busy life. Visit www.thebalab.com and secure your spot in Cohort 2 today. Let's grow, let's glow, let's go with the BA Lab.
Fantastic. Isn't that refreshing to know that
Very.
cohort is underway and we are waiting for you to come and join us? Be a better
in the-
you through the BA Lab.
Yeah, let's, in the spirit of celebrating mentorship and not suffering on your own, definitely make sure that you sign up.
Definitely. I see we also have Kevin Lugota from Lenasia and Moses Odioko from Nigeria. We have some serious high impact people here, guys. So yeah, I think our conversation is going to make an impact, not just for the women in this country, but all across the world, and that should make us proud. But back to what I was asking. Do you think that women bring a unique perspective to the different industries where we apply our trade?
Oh, most definitely. Definitely. I've seen that, throughout my experiences in the 3 different banks I've worked at. And now even for the accounting-based firm, there's a lot of innovative thinking that goes behind the creative ideas that women bring to the table. I think the most recent example I can allude to is our Women's Day event we had recently. Women from all walks of life were sharing their stories about their careers and, just like how it's been for them. One of them was a 14-year-old entrepreneur, and it was so refreshing to see her bold ideas. And she was just so confident when she was speaking to us. And I'm just like, wow, this is really admirable. And even introducing our new CEO at the Women's Day event, it was totally refreshing to hear her backstory and how she applies creative thinking to her world of work and, in her leadership style. And yeah, I think even in my immediate team, we have like a study group, and that's led by our female graduates. And it's so nice to see them actually gaining their confidence in the work that we do by bringing their creative ideas for work papers. I mean, they've published work papers even, and that's very cool. And just seeing that is really refreshing, to see what are the different perspectives. And you can always learn something from everyone, as I mentioned. So the perspectives that women bring has definitely shaped up the industries that I've worked for, and it can only get better from here.
Definitely. And perspective is very, very important because it shapes the way you look at things. And, there's this saying that always comes to my mind, and it goes that, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So the perspective that you have will always change. For as long as you have a one-dimensional view of things, you'll always look at things the same way. But the moment you shift the way you look at things, even the things that you've always looked at start changing because you start
Yeah.
looking at them differently. You know, it starts. It's almost like they shape shift into something different, and you start looking at a different perspective, and that brings a different way of looking at solutions and how you can solve problems. You know, but in that, with that said, how do you think that has influenced the way that you work with in your work and amongst the teams that you work with?
I think just being bold and expressing an idea is something that I apply directly, and I think everyone in our team has that comfortable space to air a view or an idea. So when you see your leaders doing it, that they're able to bring a unique perspective and sort of bring that to the table, and then you feel okay, it's a safe space. You are able to also give your perspective and a viewpoint. So I think the way we apply it is when we look at everyone who brings creative things to the table, we feel more inspired to do the same. As an example, there's a wellness hub that I recently started in my immediate team, and I got inspired by that just so that we can have that opportunity to introspect and reflect before our workday on a weekly basis. And I think that also is another way to bring unique perspectives to those forums because always work, work, work. But when we take a minute to stop, reflect, and share our perspective on things, it really harnesses growth, and we feel more motivated to bring our best selves to work. So I think that's a good example that I'd use to apply tangibly, using everyone's perspectives and creative ideas to sort of see, okay, how can I contribute to this, and following suit with that.
Definitely. I mean, you touched on a very important point there when you talked about wellness. And that appeals to me because what that tells me is that when you started that hub, you're looking at beyond just the resource, the person, and focusing on the human being behind what the role entails,
Yeah.
and that is very important because we go through many different things, and when you get to understand what somebody is going through or the challenges that are facing, you get to interact with that person on a very personal level, and
100%.
then the work doesn't just become work, it becomes a person that is doing the work and the challenges that they're going through to be able to deliver what they are meant to deliver. And that is very key. And wellness really contributes to how effectively somebody does the work, or how good or bad the results might actually come. I remember there was I was talking to my brother the other time, and he highlighted that there was a student that he was working with, and the student wasn't doing very well. But this was a straight A student. Throughout the year, he had been, delivering straight A's, assignments on point, projects, well above average. But when it came to the end of the year and they are supposed to write their exams, he was struggling, and he was struggling with the papers and the tests that they had to write. And he said that he the challenge that he had was convincing people that this isn't who this person is. Somebody can't come into this space and deliver such quality results, and then suddenly they drop, and it's like, oh no, this person suddenly isn't good enough, or they don't deserve to go through. And it's only when he went and did what you did, Priyanka, and he looked at what is the issue. He looked at the person behind, the results and the performance, and he said, "What is the issue? Let's talk. What is bothering you?" And he found out that there's some personal issues, some family issues. I think he had lost a parent that he heavily relied on, and that took a toll on the mental state. But once you address those issues, then that guy suddenly rose from somebody who was underperforming to somebody who now suddenly went back to the level that he was. And that's what happens when you focus on the level of wellness that somebody has, to be able to get them to a point where they are their old selves again. Because the wellness is truly what makes the person perform. It's not just the ability to perform under pressure, or the capability that they have because of what what talents they have, or what they've learned, or the education that they've had. It's how well they're doing mentally and how well they are, and that balance really, really is key to providing, that wellness, is key to providing you with, that key thing that just turns a person from what they are to what potentially that they could be,
Yeah,
and
and
yes.
I know I'm interrupting your trail of thought, but just you saying this is now making me think of that, how what you are saying actually even applies in the ways of work, like in your digital transformations and whatnot. Because if you start developing or creating solutions for people, and you start applying the empathy aspect of it, and you put yourself in the shoes of the people that you create solutions for, the solution that gets created is hits differently than a solution that was created just to meet numbers. So I think I like the how that what you are saying also ties back to also delivering solutions as well.
Yeah, definitely. It makes such a huge difference when you know the journey that you've traveled to get to where you want to be, especially when it's due to the well-being, like your spiritual well-being, or your physical well-being, or your mental well-being, to be able to deliver those kinds of results. And I think that's what most of us miss. And it's easy to miss those things because we're in environments where, results speak volumes, and you are just a person behind a screen. You're just a name with a bunch of numbers tied
And
to them.
numbers.
you know But
Yeah.
when you dig deep into those numbers and you analyze them like what Priyanka does, then you get to understand that there's more to the numbers than just the results. There's something else. There's a person behind that, and me tapping into that wellness will truly bring something a little bit different to what this person can achieve. But with that being said, I just want to ask: have you ever had to advocate for yourself in a male-dominated environment? And we find a lot of these, and sometimes it's environment that we need to tap into. And as much as government and industries can make laws to push women into these industries, the one thing that is never said about these things is how mentally challenging they are to go into these environments and have to not only prove yourself, but have to do a little bit more than what you were built to do. Like, now you have to go in and have to deal with hostility, and have to deal with arrogance, and all the other aspects that they don't tell you about, that affect the way that you perform in the environment. And at the end of the day, they take that into consideration when they do your performance evaluation, for example. But have you ever had to advocate for yourself in a male-dominated environment?
I've seen that quite a bit as well in quite a few firms that I've worked for. So yeah, from time to time I've witnessed it, and I think the advice I'd give to anyone who's experiencing that is to just change your mindset around it. Say that, you know what, every challenge that you face, or everything that tests you, like, builds up your resilience and you can persevere through it. So that's how I like to view things that aren't so favorable or so good. Like, there's something good that can come out from everything bad as well. So the first key is the mindset. The second thing is, having the space to have a timeout, literally. So what can typically be done there is, you have your mentors, you have coach, you have family and friends, a support group that you can confide in, and seek advice from and guidance, and then come back to the environment armed with techniques and tools to set healthy boundaries in the work environment where you feel that takes prevalence. And you set the tone for it, because if someone can see you're not a pushover, they'll get the message, and you'll see with time it kind of eases out into a work environment that's more favorable for you to prosper and grow in. So yeah, that's basically the advice I'd give.
No, definitely, and I think you're right. It almost becomes a normalized thing, not just in the workplace, in life as well. That when you are not able to speak up for yourself and you're just nice, people think you're a pushover, and they will want to take advantage of
Yeah.
of that niceness and your inability to be able to call them out on things, or to speak about things that you're not comfortable with, or create those boundaries.
Yeah.
People will often say things like, you've changed. And it's not that you've changed. You've just created a boundary to protect your sanity, to protect your environment, to protect your growth, and how you progress in this. Because if you don't do that, then the moment you start getting taken advantage of, you become overwhelmed. Because part of that is learning to say no to certain things when you're overwhelmed with work, when you're struggling with things, or when you just don't have the capacity to do certain things. And it's very, very important to be able to stand up and speak up and say, look, this is how things are, and this is how the direction that I would like to take when it concerns certain things. So what I want to know now is that, what advice would you give to other women that are navigating similar spaces that you're navigating?
So I think it depends on the person, right? Like, if confrontation is not your style, then don't do it. I mean, if you're brave enough to openly call out something, you can say, this is what I don't like, and this is how I'd like it to be. But if you're a bit more reserved, then I think the subtle boundaries will work a bit better. So to just have certain blocks where, if possible, you interact with that person, only for a short space of time, and limit interactions where you can. But at the end of the day, you also want to understand that person, right? So when you going through it, you sort of get to know that person, as you mentioned earlier, of actually being able to understand the person behind the screen, because then you can understand their behaviors as well, as to why they do certain things. And the minute you understand the why, you're also able to rationalize things for yourself and regulate your emotions around the situation, so that you bring a more balanced perspective to the table. Yeah.
No, definitely. And I see we have a comment from Bridget Mpatlele. She's saying that, thank you, the BA Lab team, for celebrating us as women with the most informative session with phenomenal women impacting great change and challenging norms. You guys are a powerhouse. And I couldn't agree more that, the women here really bring the spice that is needed in the food to be able to to enjoy. Given that also they can cook very well. I know Z can cook, and I know Priyanka can do it very well too. So yeah, it really brings a very nice dynamic to it, and it's without a doubt important that we celebrate that kind of thing. But there is something that has always been tickling my thoughts, and I want to get it out there. And I'm sure a lot of people also want to know which soft skills or technical skills do you think are critical for women to thrive in business and in the workplace today?
Soft
Wow.
skills, let's say, first and foremost, emotional intelligence. That thing is very important. Self-awareness as well, to be able to identify your triggers and whatnot. So those are the things that you don't learn at school, but when you're in the workplace, they're very, very important. And I think also just knowing how to navigate the politics that occur in the office as well, and not dwelling in them. So these are like small things that can impact how people view you. So even when your technical skills are like up the roof, but if you don't have these small soft skills that overlooked, then you sort of land yourself in the, I guess, underperforming corner where it's not fully warranted.
Well, definitely. And I couldn't agree with you more that you need those soft skills, especially emotional intelligence, because
Yo.
it's very important to be able to read the room, to know that
Mm.
okay, things are not like things are getting a bit hectic now, but I need to be able to handle the situation with care, not to offend
Yeah.
somebody or to make somebody angry or to tip somebody over the top, and having the know-how to navigate that is very, very important. And it's something that is very, very overlooked in the workplace. Somehow, sometimes you'll hear people say things like, I call a spade a spade,
Yeesh.
and you think, really, do you really want to call a spade in this
Right
environment?
now.
Because we all make mistakes,
Yeah.
and a spade, having
Mm.
that thing that you thought was a fork on the floor being called a spade in a meeting full of 50 people isn't something that you want that you want to be done
Time
to
and a
you,
place, ma'am. Say.
you know so you need to have that emotional intelligence to be able to read the room enough to know when is the right time to tackle such issues. What is the environment? How is this going to make the next person feel? What is the best way to deal with this situation? And I think that's a very important point there, Zeke. So yeah, Priyanka, sorry, I took the limelight away from you.
No, no, not at all. I think this is very much conversational. So I'm happy that Zilo went first and stuff. I think for me, the soft skill that I think is also most important is just the practice of thoughtful leadership, and that's a very broad term. But there's a lot that goes under that umbrella. One of them is, for example, active listening. And I think that also forms part of the EQ piece. So being able to not just listen to respond, but actually listening with intent to understand. And the word active in active listening means actually acting upon it and seeing what can you do to make a situation better or lighter for someone. And even closing the loop by telling them, look, this is what I think will work. Or even if they, for example, propose an idea, if you don't think it fits in a certain domain, you can say, look, it's a good idea, but maybe we can fit it elsewhere at this point in this time. But I think the main intent of active listening is that the person feels heard, and their viewpoint is appreciated. So I think that's one of the soft skills. I know you also asked on technical. Technical, I think, will depend on the actual role, the logistics of your role. So typically, it is your coding skills, so like your SAS SQL, and the medium for which you do storytelling could be in the form of a Power BI dashboard, for example. So that could be something you focus on. Or if it's mainly reporting, like then you make sure your presentation skills are good, your business writing skills are good. There was another one. Which one was it? No, I think I've covered everything. Yeah, the presentation skills, business writing, and coding, and building dashboards if needs be. It all depends on the specific role that you're taking up. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. And isn't it ironic, Z, that all the skills that Priyanka was talking about are the skills that we have available on the BA Lab? So you can hop up to www.thebalab.com and go through our page, find a course that is suitable for you. All those courses, all those skills, technical and soft skills are available. Mentorship programs, anything that you can think of, we have available. We also have a community of BAs and people that will give you the support, not
Yeah.
just the theory part of it, but the support whatever questions you might have, whatever challenges that you're going through, they are there on the side. The people are there. If you have questions and you're struggling through something at work, you can reach out to that community, and we'll be able to help you with that. There's also a WhatsApp channel, the BA Lab, and through that channel you'll be able to get these kinds of sessions.
Yeah.
See the webinars that we've been talking about, the topics we've been covering, and what really appeals to you and your situation in a way that you can apply them at work and be able to get better. If you need clarity, hop over to the BA Lab or just send a message. Go see the WhatsApp channel and see what you can get from there. So the last time, I just want to just a few hot topics. I hope we are run out of time because it's hard to keep all of this information and get these amazing women to share this informative stuff in such a short time. But I'll try my best. What I want to know now is, how do you stay relevant with making change in industry, in business analysis, and also in what you're doing? And what would you recommend for women entering the field now?
Okay, so I think it again depends on which spectrum you're going to, because a BA can be working in any sort of environment or industry. So I think to remain relevant, there's two quadrants we can look at it. The first one is if you're already working and you want to stay relevant. In that instance, then you just like confide with your team or colleagues on what courses you can do to stay relevant, or what you can really do to tip the edge of doing the best that you can in the work that you're doing. So if there's any like company documentation available on, for example, the strategy and the aim, then you can start to contemplate how can you start to put in and stay relevant in the work you're doing. The second quadrant would be to look at the people who haven't yet entered the space and they want to. Then I think doing your homework is your first best bet. You know, as you mentioned earlier, the planning element. So look up what a BA does, do some job shadowing, and talk to some of the people who are in the field, your mentors, your coaches, just to get a feel of what is needed and what you would need to accomplish to stay relevant. Because then from there you can then seek help from sources like the BA lab to get the technical skills and the soft skills that you need. You know, I saw Avi there. You know, while the eye was hot, he like went for it. Advocate for it.
Definitely. On that note, actually, I would like to ask the audience, what technical skills do they think is important, and what are those? If there's something that they've learned or something that they would like to learn, please put that comment there. Tell us what really you'd like to learn, or what you think is important, or what you've learned. Sorry to cut you there.
Yeah. and also just on observation as well in the emerging trends and whatnot, the role of the business analyst is shifting in such a way that now there's no the business analyst and the IT business analyst. So it is imperative that as BAs we start learning the technicalities of what APIs are, what to Priyanka's points Power BI does. Really immerse yourself in also understanding how data works as well, so the background of it and how it makes business sense as well. So I think more research and also understand what is emerging and looking into how the role is shifting as well. But yeah, also looking forward to hearing people's comments in terms of what they also think is emerging in terms of the technical skills that are there.
I think another thing I'd like to add there is the use of AI in the space. You know, like it's becoming more and more prevalent. And, you know, to stay relevant, you need to understand the dynamics of AI and where it fits in your role and how you can apply it appropriately. Because that's a hot topic of today, like AI and bringing that to the workplace and, you know, just mitigating those factors of it replacing us. See how can we use it in productive ways to enhance our performance and the work we deliver on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, because I mean, the feeling is that hey, the AI is going to take our jobs, and
It's a threat. It's a big, the SWOT analysis. You'll get the big T for the big threat.
no, definitely. But it creates such an environment that it allows us to take care of other important things
Yeah.
while it does the other stuff,
Yeah.
and that's what most of us miss sometimes. But I think that AI point is something to think about, something that a lot of us should think about, and how we can better use it to make more of what we're given. But I would like to carry this conversation further, but unfortunately we are almost out of time. So I would like to thank all of you ladies, especially Priyanka, for joining us and giving us your time. Thank you very much. I hope you join us again soon, and thank you to our audience. Thank you very much. See you next time.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Stay connected with us and keep the conversation going. Follow us on social media for the latest updates, news, and more opportunities to connect. Or visit our website at www.thebalab.com to explore more resources, register as a member, and engage with like-minded individuals in our growing community. Thank you for joining us for the PowerConnect webinar. We hope you found this session insightful. Until next time, keep powering your connections, and thank you for being part of our community.